Hey guys, let's talk about protests. You think protests are risk-free? Not entirely. You could lose your freedom and maybe even your job. We've all seen videos, some of us have actually been there on the ground, of protests, recent ones, where people are pushing cops, throwing stuff at them, fireworks, bottles of water, blocking horses, throwing rocks, getting into their faces. What's allowed? What's not allowed under California law? Let's talk about it. My name is Dmitry Gorovich, Mr. G, and this is my spot. I've been a criminal defense lawyer for almost 30 years, and I got stories. So sit back, relax, and welcome to my world. I received a phone call from a guy named Chuck. Chuck went to a protest. He's seen a lot of stuff. The bottle throwing, rocks, fireworks, all that stuff, right? He was even involved in some of it. And he's concerned that he might get arrested. His face might appear on some of the videos. So he made an appointment, came to the office, and we sat down and talked. And, I thought I'd do a series of videos discussing all of these issues for everybody to know. So before you go to a protest, you need to understand what your rights are and what you're allowed and what you're not allowed to do. In future videos in this series, we're going to discuss a lot of interesting topics. Let me tell you. So we're going to talk about encouraging others to commit violence, right? Is that allowed? What are the limits? How do you define that? What if you're a minor, you're not an adult? Can you get arrested as well? How about mob mentality? When you're an individual, acting alone, that's one thing. But when you're placed in a mob, your mind takes on a whole different identity. We'll talk about that. What about vandalism or defacing property? How does the law look at that? Can you drive through a crowd? Let's say there's a group of protesters blocking the roadway, right? Are you allowed to drive through? Are you allowed to slowly push through? What can you do? Can you film the police? What are the limits? Can they ask you or demand that you delete the footage? Can they stop you from filming? These and other questions are going to be answered in this series. So let me introduce you to today's sponsor, Kaminsky Boxing Gym. Now, this is not a fitness boxing place. This is an actual fighter's gym. This is where you go to learn the sweet science of boxing. They've been around for many years, and they know what they're doing. This is where I train. This is where I go to get my ass handed to me. This place has everything you need. All the bags, an actual boxing ring, treadmills, ellipticals, step machines, and weights. They train everybody from kids to weekend warriors like me to professional boxers. They're located in Tarzana, California. Give them a shot. You won't regret it. Chuck got a call from one of his buddies. The guy said, look, things are happening. People are being deported. This is crazy. We got to go protest. We got to do something. So Chuck is like, yeah, let's go. Let's do it. And so they meet up downtown LA and they join a group that had picket signs and banners and posters and all that stuff, right? It was peaceful at first until it wasn't. Chuck found himself surrounded by people yelling and screaming at the cops, throwing stuff at them, bottles, fireworks, even rocks. He didn't know what to do. And then all of a sudden, one of the cops was in his face. And he's like, move, move. And he shoved Chuck before Chuck could do anything. His initial reaction, Chuck's, the initial reaction was to shove the cop back. Okay, now let's freeze it there. What just happened? Chuck just committed a crime. He assaulted a police officer. Okay, now whether you agree with that or not, that's what California law says. You might think, well, wait a minute, the cop shoved him first. Yes, and maybe it wasn't even justified. Maybe Chuck was not given enough time to comply with a police request or order. But you don't resolve that issue there on the ground. You resolve it later, possibly in courts, if you want to sue the police department. But you don't go and shove a cop back. A police officer on the ground is trying to execute his duties. What you're doing is, first of all, impeding him from doing that, and second of all, assaulting him. What you're risking, what Chuck was risking, is being arrested there on the scene, thrown into custody, and then trying to prove his innocence in front of a judge. Now, keep this in mind. Assaulting a police officer is a felony. That's how it's usually filed. It will, of course, depend on whether the police officer sustained any injuries. Nevertheless, it's usually filed as a felony. not as a misdemeanor. Now, what's the difference? Misdemeanors are not very serious crimes. Standard DUI, stealing a candy bar from 7-Eleven. Felonies are a lot more serious. Rape, robbery, murder, things like that, right? And assaulting a police officer. Now, what's the difference in terms of punishment? Misdemeanors are crimes that are punishable anywhere from 0 to up to 1 year in county jail. Felonies are 0 all the way up to life in state prison. Now, obviously, assaulting a police officer in this particular case would not have been a life case, not even close. Life cases obviously are murder cases, not pushing a police officer. But wait, there's more. Chuck turned around looking for his buddy, and what he saw really blew him away. His friend was up on a pedestal in the roadway, and he was tossing fireworks into the crowd of police officers. Okay? Now that is considerably more serious than pushing a cop, right? I mean, these are fireworks. They're dangerous. They explode. They can really injure somebody. They can set somebody on fire, God forbid, right? This is serious stuff. His buddy ran. He wasn't arrested either, okay? But if he were, literally this would have been a straight felony, not even a consideration of being a misdemeanor. So what did Chuck's friend actually do according to California law? Well, he committed an assault with a deadly weapon, fireworks being the deadly weapon. That's Penal Code 245. Very serious. And it's a strike. Strikes, remember, California has 3 of them, right? On your 3rd one, you go away for life. A strike is any serious or violent felony. Throwing fireworks at a cop certainly fits the bill. And I'll tell you one thing. Chuck's friend had no understanding of the consequences, and neither did Chuck. They went out to blow some steam, and they risked going to jail, going to prison, and more. You see, Chuck and his friend can also lose their jobs. First Amendment, right? Well, First Amendment allows you the freedom of speech. It does not give you freedom to assault cops, and it does not give you freedom from any consequences. An employer can actually fire you for being arrested, for acting the way you acted. Let's say you appear in the video throwing stuff at the cops. If your employer doesn't like that, he or she can fire you. So you really need to understand and really need to consider the consequences before you go out and protest. Or let me put it this way, before you switch from peaceful protesting to actual rioting. Now, what about throwing rocks? We've seen videos, they're all over the place, right? Of people throwing rocks at cop cars, at federal agents, ICE agents' vehicles, right? They're big SUVs. Some are throwing rocks from a bridge all the way down. Some are throwing rocks at parked vehicles. Some are throwing rocks at moving vehicles right into their windshields. Now, what do you guys think? Do you think that's criminal conduct? Yeah, absolutely it is. You see, if it's one of those cop cars that's standing under a bridge, there's nobody inside, and you're throwing a rock into it, that would probably be considered vandalism. But if it's a moving vehicle with people inside, and you're throwing a rock into its windshield, you're literally committing attempted murder. There are actual cases where people drop rocks off a bridge over a freeway with cars passing under, and those rocks hitting the windshield of a moving vehicle and killing the driver. So when you see people on videos actually throwing rocks into moving ICE SUVs or federal vehicles or cop cars or whatnot, they're literally committing attempted murder. I guarantee you most of them don't even think about it. They don't realize what they're doing. They're expressing their emotions. But the problem is that once you express those emotions, you're going to get arrested, you're going to get charged, and you're going to face a lot of time in prison. My suggestion is there are other ways to express your frustrations. Legal ways. Ways that can actually change the system. Tune in to this series of videos where we talk about all the major issues associated with protesting and rioting, your rights, and what can happen. If you like this type of content, please subscribe, like, and comment. Let's talk about this. These are serious issues. My name is Dmitry Gurovich, Mr. G. This is my spot, and these are my stories.